The beginning of this week's portion, Chukat, challenges us to think about why we observe the commandments of Judaism. The portion begins with a description of how one would become ritually purified after coming into contact with the dead. It is a bizarre ceremony in which an unusual animal, a red young cow that has never been worked and without blemish, would be slaughtered and then burnt, and the ashes of that animal would be mixed with water and sprinkled on the person who has come into contact with the dead. As I said, the ceremony is quite unusual in itself, but also unusual in the type of animal, because that red heifer, the young cow with all red hair, is a very unusual animal to find. And so the question is, why do we have laws that are meant to be followed that make no sense? We live in a society in which secular law is built upon the notion of common sense, that we follow laws that are legislated in order to maintain society's safety and health and welfare, and to help promote prosperity and success within the entire community. So laws are legislated in countries and for the people, for the benefit of the people. But religious law is quite different. Certainly there is supposed to be some spiritual benefit to us, but the spiritual benefit comes from different ways. In other words, spiritual benefit doesn't just happen when we follow laws that make sense to follow. That is easy. Spiritual laws are meant to challenge us, to motivate us, to inspire us, to rise above the everyday and to think about greater issues. And though a law might even seem to be bizarre in its construct and might seem unusual and difficult to follow, the point is not about the law itself, but the underlying thought behind it. That we rise above ourselves. We recognize that we are not the be-all and end-all of our lives, but rather we think about being humble and think about our relationship to God. And when we see a law that doesn't make sense, then that we are supposed to think instead about what God wants from us and to do something for God's sake, not for our sake. Shabbat Shalom.